Hey guys, Jengar here. Welcome to today's realistic review in which we are taking a look at the Mosquito FB Mk VI sitting at 3.7 battle rating. The British heavy fighter that was famed in the war for low attacks, recon, extremely fast, build of wood, exactly what the British needed. A famous quote was that the only problem with the Mosquito we have is that we never have enough of them, which is of course quite the compliment. In War Thunder, this plane has a maximum speed of 459 km an hour without whip at sea level and 551 with whip. At 4500 meters this plane can go up to 420 km an hour without whip and 489 km an hour with whip. And finally at 6500 meters this plane goes 415 km an hour with whip and 425 km an hour with whip. This plane is fast and the whip on the plane is extremely good. The plane really almost 100 km an hour at sea level difference between without whip and with whip. That is amazing. And at 4500 meters the difference still is 70 km an hour. Only at extremely high altitudes like 6500 meters this plane starts to slack in the whip department, but it still remains relatively quick. But the plane is best at the mid to low altitudes when it comes to that. The top speed in a dive is 685 km an hour before it redlines and 720 km an hour before it rips apart. Now that is the absolute maximum where you can take it, and it is very rippable before that, let's say, especially on high G's at high speeds or even negative G's. The plane doesn't react very well and you often rip a wing, so you know, don't stare yourself blind on the 720 rip speed, because you can rip her before then under normal conditions, let's say. You got to be careful when you're quick in this plane, in and around the red line. Even before the red line you can rip this plane apart. The control stiffening in the plane also is a problem, with 450 when it starts to become noticeable and 550 when it becomes severe. Especially the roll rate is affected. The elevator stays functional up until the red line, let's say. You can pull out of a dive no problem, but it will be very difficult to get guns on target, so there is that. Stall speed in the plane is quite good with 130 km an hour. The plane has excellent firepower with 4 20mm Hispano Mark IIs with 150 rounds per gun. I used air targets for this, and 4 7.7 Browning machine guns with 500 rounds per gun, for which I used universal and an 800 meter convergence for this match. I also have rockets. You also have rocket options and bomb options for the plane. If you want to go ground attack in her and then attack the enemy ground attackers, that is definitely a role you can use this plane for, because it's pretty fast when it comes out of a dive, and it does have an air spawn, which is quite nice. The climb rate though is only average, but the air spawn gives it a good place to start, let's say. The ammo load is good to very good on this plane, nothing to complain about. Acceleration in a straight line is decent, and in a dive good. Energy retention in the horizontal is excellent. In the vertical it's still decent. Most heavy fighters are, you know, less than decent, average, sometimes bad in the vertical. This one is still decent in there, and in the horizontal the energy retention really is excellent. It holds its speed very well. Climb rate, like I said, is average, with but the air spawn really saves it, and you can be higher than most enemy planes when you you know, meet the enemy team, especially the airfield starting planes you can outclimb, but some of the heavy fighters will be at the same altitude as you, so and the interceptors, so there is that. But apart from that, this plane is excellent at bomber hunting and you know, suppressing the enemy team from getting higher, which is quite fun. The turn time in the plane is bad. below average with flaps. 400 kilometers an hour is when the flaps rip off, and that is not too spectacular. The roll rate is also bad at all speeds, and maneuverability overall is bad. Overheating in the plane is non-existent, so that is one less problem to think about. You can web with this plane till your heart's content, and there will be no problem. With the engines, well, at a certain point even this engine will overheat, but if you can cook this engine, you are a magician. Or your finger is glued to the web button. One of two. The durability in this plane is very good. It can take a lot of damage, and it seems quite sturdy in game at the moment. Even with damage you are able to get back to the airfield, and this plane can land on both engines, which is quite good because the plane has very good energy retention, and it's difficult to get the plane to stop on wheels. Although of course for a good pilot that's pretty manageable, but if you want to make it a little bit easier, slow the plane down to about 280 and just land her easily on both engines, and you're stopped and repaired a lot quicker that way. So there is that's a nice thing to have. The plane is very sluggish when slow, especially below 300 kilometers an hour. This plane becomes very sluggish, and you don't want to be in that speed range. You want to keep this plane relatively fast. This plane really is a support plane and a brawler. It has nothing to do in a dogfight, this plane. You will lose against pretty much anything you face, except other heavy fighters and bombers, but bombers don't dogfight usually. But the other heavy fighters are a match for this plane. Some aren't and some are, but most single engine fighters will easily outroll and outmaneuver you, outturn you, and you'll be in a pickle. So what you don't want to do is what I have situation here, developing with several people around me, and I have to just get out of here. This is a moment when I want to get the hell out of here in this plane. Don't want to start turning with these guys because they will eat me alive. So I dive away. Those guys will have to turn to come after me, and some will have the option of catching me. As some of especially those P-47s in an extended dive will be faster than me, but the dive acceleration in this plane is good, and I am at my maximum speed right now. So top speed in a dive is not very good, but I went into the red line there a little bit, and they gave up. They had to turn, so I was lucky there, I could escape. In the meantime though, somebody else, I went back to the airfield, repaired, got back into the clouds, saw 3 dots approaching me. I decided to turn away, and another guy, a 4th guy, he sneaked up behind me from the clouds. Unfortunately, we did get 4 kills though in that match, so there is that. A good plane though, that. Let's see what kind of rewards we got for that first match. That was actually a win. Terror of the Sky, Bulletproof, and Final Blow. We've got a soccer ball, well that's nice. 42,000 Silver Lions and 2300 research points. Hey guys, so here we are after the match. Now 2 attackers this weekend. After the BF-110 F2 I felt like flying out the Mosquito. It was on my to-do list for a long time already. So I decided, well, why not? While I'm at it, getting some heavy attackers done, and this one was requested, I think, more than a year ago by somebody. And well, here we have it. It's a good plane in this patch. It has good firepower, obviously. 4 machine guns and 4 cannons will rip anything apart. Ammo loads are decent. The plane is fast in a cruising speed, not in a dive though, and it doesn't really fit any of the traditional roles. Like just like the BF-110 yesterday, it's not a turn fighter, it is not an energy fighter, and it is definitely not a boom and zoomer. This plane really is a support plane, coming in from the fringes and wrecking havoc, saving teammates. But of course this plane does require a live team, a team that is fighting to do well. If you're alone, if you're left with 5-6 players, then you usually bite the dust in this plane, because it is not that fantastic when it comes to reversing a match. Although of course, nothing is impossible. Anyway, you can also use rockets and bombs on this plane, making it pretty versatile and giving you options on what you want to do in this plane. So I say it's definitely a plane to get and to have some fun in. Guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I want to thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. If you're new here, make sure to hit the subscribe button, become part of this community. If you are already a subscriber, don't forget to like the video, do leave me a comment, and if you really feel like helping out today, make sure to share the video with your friends and let them know about the channel.